Hey everyone, so I want to talk about HTML today. We've talked a lot about tools and methodologies and random other things in the group, but we never really talked about HTML alone itself, what it is, what a browser actually does, and so I want to talk about that today. Um, Before anything else, before I actually talk about HTML itself, I want to talk about image files. I have on my desktop here a cat.jpg image. If I double click this image, the Mac application Preview, if you look in the top left corner, Preview is opening. Preview is an application that is meant to preview image files, right? Pretty straightforward. Similarly, a browser is just something that opens and displays an HTML file. So if you think about it that way, it's not really its own special thing. It's just a file. So let's start coding to just get into it. I think that's the best way. I'm going to go to Atom, which is the text editor for this group. If you haven't downloaded this yet, please let me know in the Slack and I'll help you get set up. But I'm going to open up Atom. I have a little theme going on here, but you can ignore that. Top left and open a new file. I'm going to save this file to my desktop and just call it index.html. In this file, I'm going to write, let me move the window. I'm going to write the word hello and just save it, just like that. You can see on my desktop here that this appeared. If I double click this, the same way I double clicked the cat picture from earlier, Chrome should open up. And sure enough, you can see the word hello. And you know, there's nothing special going on here. It's just a text file, HTML text file, and Chrome is opening it up. If you look in the address bar, normally there's something here that says www.google or whatever, but in this case, it's showing a file on my actual computer, not somewhere out on the internet. So let's change this just so you can be sure I'm not tricking you. I really like web development and cats. Okay, save this, and if I refresh the page on the right, there it is. Web development. Right, so we've established now that an HTML file is not really a special thing. It's just like a text file. So let's start coding. Let's actually code some HTML so you can see what I'm talking about. HTML consists of things called tags. Tags look like this. Let's see. H1, H2. In between tags, you write things. I know I'm being generic and that's not very helpful, but for right now, let's just call it things or stuff. So cats. Cats are going to be my running theme. So here's another one. Cats. Here's another one. H3. Cats. So I've written the rest of these. Let's open this file again in Chrome. Let's refresh the page. You'll notice that the text is showing up. Cats, 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 cats. But look at what's happening on the right. There's some formatting being applied. This has priority at the top, and it's the biggest, and it just keeps on going down and down and down. Let's write another tag. At the very bottom of all of this, let's write another one. This one's called P. I'm going to make the font a little smaller so that everyone can see everything. And here I'll write just a random filler sentence. My name is Kevin /P. Let's refresh the page again. Here you see my name is Kevin. And it's not quite as big as this, but it's not quite as small as this. I'm just going to keep going. Before I do, please just look at the syntax. There's an opening less than sign, some text. Here it's H1, here it's H2, here it's H3. There's some text, greater than sign, some more stuff, and then it repeats. But this time, it's just like the one on the left, but this time there's this closing /. Same down here. If you look, there's the little angled brackets, the P, some text in the middle, and it's the same thing as on the left, except there's this / here. This is called an opening HTML tag, and this is called a closing HTML tag. Each of these has their own properties, and they're used for separate things. So I'm just going to keep on going from here. This is a new one, but it's going to look a little different. I'm going to make the font size smaller. Google. So if I save this and go on the right, refresh the page, this is a link, right? And if I hover over it, you can see at the bottom of the browser that it says google.com. And sure enough, if I click, it takes me to Google. Great. Hopefully, without me having to explain, it's starting to become apparent how HTML works. So I'm just going to code some stuff and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I've coded some random stuff. I made a little baby website and I just want to walk through it to see all the different HTML tags, when you might use which, why there's so many, and just really dive into the code here. So if you look on the left, let's look at the code first. Here, actually, you know what? I'm just going to ignore that for now. You can just delete this. Okay, so first of all, there's multiple ways to write HTML. Previously, we just wrote it like this. We did h1, we opened it up, we wrote some text, cats, and then we closed it like this, right? But this same piece of HTML could just as well be written like this. And so there's two ways. This is the exact same thing to a browser as this. So keeping that in mind, let's go back and just take a look at what's going on. At the very top level, there's this HTML tag, and it's being closed at the bottom. I'm going to indent this so it's easier to see what's going on. Inside the HTML tag, we have more tags. We have the head tag, which is open and closed here. The title tag, which is written on one line with the text cat lifestyle inside of it. We have the body tag, which is open and closed here. And inside we have two things called divs. The first div opens here, closes here. Second div opens here and closes here. So I'm going to space it out a little so that we can focus on the things that are going on. Now the head tag that's being used at the top is a little bit tricky. There's a lot of different uses for it, and it can get overwhelming very quickly. If you look at any real-world site, this head tag will be filled with junk. So first of all, I just want to focus on this one. This one title tag is used in every single website that you've ever known, and you'll see it everywhere. So this is the thing that sets the name of the tab. So if I look at this page in Chrome, at the top here it says cat lifestyle. This is because I have the cat lifestyle text in this title tag right here. So that's that. For now, I'm just going to ignore the head tag and move on to the body. The body tag, as the name implies, is to be used for the main body of the website. Mostly, everything that you see will be inside the body tags. Now, there are some exceptions, and the web is such a big place that things can start to get crazy. Some rules can get broken, but 99% of the time, you're going to want to keep everything inside the body tag. So with that said, there are two divs. And I know it's a lot to take in at once, but try to look at it as two distinct chunks. There's the first div here and the second div here. So let's look at the first div first. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I'm going to add a bunch of little enters so that nothing else is being focused on right now. So let's just look at this. A div it's unlike every single tag that we've seen so far. Previously, we saw H1s with the text cat. H in H1 stands for header. And, as the name implies, when we looked at this on the browser, the header text was very large because it's the heading of the page. Paragraph tags, or P tags, were meant for generic paragraphs, just general text. And this final tag, which was used to make a link, before we used it to make a link to Google, like this. This actually stands for anchor, and it's called anchor because of historical reasons. So just ignore that. Just know that the A tag is used for links. This was used to create a link. But the div is a little special. It's very, very generic. H1s are used for headers. P tags are used for paragraphs. A tags are used for links. But divs are kind of containers. They're like Tupperware containers that you can put anything you want in. They're used kind of like an actual Tupperware container. You can use a container for holding your pens or holding coleslaw or whatever you want. You can put whatever you want inside a container. And in the same way, you can group stuff on the page using divs. For now, let's just keep it at that and keep moving forward. This first div is sort of an introductory div or container. If you look, there's an H1 that says, "Welcome to Cat Lifestyle." There's a paragraph tag that says, "Hello everyone, this is my brand new website on cats. They're the love of my life and I think they're fascinating." So this is an introductory thing that you might see at the top of a website. So I've grouped them together using divs. Let's scroll down now and go to the second div. Now that you know what the website is for, you might want some more information. So I made a second div to group the second bunch of information. There's an H2 because it's not quite as important. It's not the heading of the entire website's page. It's just the heading for this second container. So instead of H1, we used H2. And I said, why do I love cats? Well, it's obvious, isn't it? Here are my reasons. So I used an H2 tag for the heading, a paragraph tag for the paragraph, blah, blah, blah. And then here, I used UL tags and LI tags. UL stands for unordered list. Obviously, this is a list of reasons why I love cats, and it's not important to know the order. Sometimes it is. For example, if you're giving someone directions and you need to say first turn left, then turn right, the order of those list items really matters. So for that, you have OL, which stands for ordered list. But I'm just going to delete that for now. But right now we have UL for unordered list. And within the UL tag, we have 3 LIs, which stand for list items. Each one is holding a reason why I love cats. So if I save this in my text editor, go back to Chrome and refresh the page, this is what it looks like, right? There's the heading to the page, and it's the biggest one because we used H1. There's a paragraph, and then there's the second div here. Let's look at it here, so you can look at it side by side. There's the second div, and you'll notice that even though that there's all this stuff inside the div, we don't see anything. The div itself is invisible, just like a Tupperware container is see-through. This div is invisible. It's a container that we use on our side to organize stuff. But the user who's visiting the website doesn't actually see any of that. So moving on, why do I love cats? It's obvious, isn't it? Here are my reasons. Now, you might be wondering why this is bigger when I didn't tell it to be bigger. Why is H2 smaller than H1 when I didn't say that that's how I want it to be? And similarly, for these list items, these reasons at the bottom, I didn't tell the browser that I want there to be bullets, these little circles at the start of each one. So you might be wondering why is it there at all? The reason is HTML and Chrome, Internet Explorer, Firefox, Opera, Safari, all of these other browsers have an idea of what you want that to look like. So H1s are important. Important things are usually big. So browsers have default styling that makes H1 tags look large. Paragraph tags, in contrast, usually they're just paragraphs of text on the page and they don't need to be prioritized in any special way. So they just get normal styling. They're just a standard, boring, Times New Roman looking font. It's assumed that H2s are less important than H1s, so they're a little bit smaller. And unordered lists of things usually in the real world have bullets. So the browser goes ahead and adds those things for you. Now, we've only touched the surface of what HTML is, but there's actually not that much more in terms of tags. Like I mentioned earlier, there's the OL tag, so I'll just create a quick OL opening and closing tag here. Let's make just fake steps. Let's see, how to make a pin sandwich. First, get red, close that, and copy paste it. Second, get jelly, and third, get beet, right? So if I save this and refresh it, then you see now that it has numbers at the beginning because the order matters. There's tags like this, OL, UL, div, and, anchor tag and body in HTML, and there's a lot, but the majority of what you're going to be using is actually already done. There's a little more, So for example, there's the image tag. Let's go and add an image to this first div. An image tag is written with img, and you need to tell the browser where you want to get the image from. So let's just Google cats and add an image from somewhere. If I Google cats and go to the images tab, I can choose whatever image. Let's just choose this one. Click view image, and right up here in the address bar of the browser, you'll see this URL. Normally, you're not supposed to copy and paste someone else's website URL, so don't do what I'm doing, but just as a point of principle, I'm going to copy this URL and write source, paste that in. I'm going to shrink it a little bit more. And then if I save this and go back to my website and refresh the page, the image is huge. This is an extremely large picture of a cat, but it's there. It's working properly. So there's a lot of HTML elements that you can learn, but this is it, really. In terms of concepts, I don't think there's much more to learn, actually. There's some things you can do to set the stage for CSS, which is when you can start customizing, and that's when things start to get both crazy and really fun. But as far as HTML itself goes, this is the gist. So really quick, I'm going to cut away all the extra spaces and formatting that I added earlier, and this is it on the left. Hopefully it's still cluttered, but it's looking a little clearer and you're able to reason about what's happening on the page. And that's it. Not so bad. Later on, I'll make a video about CSS, which is when you start doing things like this, style.css. Let's save this on the desktop, call it style.css, and for example, let's say I want the paragraph text to use a different font. Right now it has this random font. It's very standard and boring, but let's say I want to make it look like some crazy font, then I might write some CSS that says, let's use the ugliest font I know. If I save this and refresh the page, bam, the font changes. So CSS and HTML together let you style things, and if you can already tell, this can go on. There's so many things you can do. You can increase the font size to make it, let's say, 50 pixels high. You can change the color to red. You can make it bold, and you can make it underlined. It's gonna look goddamn terrible, but refresh the page and bam, there you go. So hopefully this breaches the subject of HTML and CSS in an accessible way, and I hope it clarifies that HTML is nothing special. It's just a text file, and that text file has a certain syntax to it. And when you obey that syntax using things like head tags, title tags, and whatever, and you open it up in a browser, the browser will display everything you wrote down in a way that you can control with CSS. So that's it for the first video. I won't ramble on. I hope this helps, and just let me know. If there are any questions, please, as always, post it in the developers channel, and I'll address it as soon as possible. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch everyone in the next one. Bye.